Hi, Joey. You okay?
Yeah, hello?
Hi. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you see me and stuff?
No, we're not on video. We're just on audio. I can hear you clearly, but we can't see you. But that we're not doing video, so that's all right. So you just let you know you're on with myself, Ray, and my co-host Patrick.
All right. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going there, Joey? It's Patrick here.
Doing well, you guys.
Okay, Patrick, you ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule, Joey. We were just talking about you got a fight coming up in December against Anthony Peros. Is that right?
That is correct. December. I'm not sure if it's 14th or 15th because of the time difference, but it's one of those days out in Australia, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. Now that's quite an active schedule you got. This is going to be your fourth fight this year. One of those fights was at heavyweight. Do you like keeping that busy with your fights?
Yeah, I mean, the more you fight, the more money you make. So that's this is my job. From day one, I've always said, and it's the truth. I'm not doing this to be famous and stuff like that. This is the way I make money. So, as long as I'm healthy and we get a solid 12-week training camp in, then I'm good to go.
There you go. Well, I love that. And one of the things we were talking about just before you came on was that you're like the Terminator basically with your resolve. What makes Joey Beltran so durable like that?
I mean, I guess genetics or something. I'm not sure because it's not exactly like you can train to have a good chin.
Right.
It's just one of the, like I said, genetics. But as far as my attitude and the way I fight, I have the mindset that I'm in there. Like I said, once again, it's my job, and the Fertitas and Dana White and Joe Silva, they are paying me, X amount of dollars to fight. And as long as I'm alive, as long as I'm not knocked out, I'm going to fight. And, I really only know one way how to do that, and that's to come forward and and throw some punches.
Yeah, and we love watching you get in there and fight. And we were just talking about that's your style, and that with your endurance, you're not one of those guys. You're just going to come forward and just you're not going to just try and survive in a fight if things are looking down. You're one of those guys. You're never out of the fight, and I know you've gotten a couple fight of the nights because of that. Now, what drew you to mixed martial arts initially?
Honestly, I mean, it was money. I was just working just some lame jobs here and there, and I had boxed and I had wrestled when I was a little kid, and I had been in plenty of street fights. So I knew I could handle myself. And then I somehow stumbled across a gym in Hawaii when I was out there going to school. And by this time, this was like 2005, I believe. So the MMA hadn't really taken off like it had, like it is now, of course. But
Right.
back then, but even back then in Hawaii, I mean, it was huge. They were putting on big shows in the Blaisdell Arena, and so I caught the bug out there, and when I came back home at the end of semester, I was going to community college, and by this time I was 25 years old. I was like, I don't know if the school thing's going to work out for me. And, I just found a gym, found a team, and just went for it, man. From day one, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a UFC fighter. And at the time of being over 300 pounds, and everyone kind of laughed at me, if not to my face, definitely behind my back, pretty much laughed at that note, at that idea of me being a professional athlete. But I had the mindset and the determination, and I just did it. And I just never really gave myself a plan B, and I just went for it, man. It worked out.
Yeah, it certainly did, and that's very cool to hear. And nowadays you're training with a great camp in Alliance MMA. When did you join up with those guys?
I've always kind of had a relationship with them, because we had Brandon Vera, myself, and Dominic Cruz. We had the same manager at one point. A gentleman by the name of Matt Stansel, who actually still is managing Brandon. So we all had the same manager. I trained up in North County, San Diego, which is about an hour drive from where Alliance is located. And what happened? Oh, okay, I remember. The gym I was training at kind of had like a falling out with my management and whatnot, and so we were there was a little bit of time when I really wasn't training anywhere, and then my manager told me, "Hey, go down there." I remember he told me, he's like, "Go down there and I recommend just following Dominic Cruz, do whatever Dominic Cruz does, try to work as hard as that kid. That kid's going to be a world champion. Just follow his lead, follow his example." And that's what I did from the first time I stepped into the Alliance. I just tried to work as hard as Dominic, and I can't move as fast as him, but I can definitely try, and that's that's how that went. And Eric Del Fioro, and I've known him since my first professional fight. That's when I met him. So I've known all those guys for a long time.
Awesome. And just a quick side note, don't want to sidetrack too much, but how's Dominic's knee coming along these days?
Dominic's crazy, man. I'm definitely Dominic's gonna break some kind of turnaround record as far as recovery from ACL. He's doing things already, that I don't know. I wouldn't want to put like a definite timetable on it, but I would say he's probably gonna be back by the middle of 2013. I mean, he's making awesome strides in his recovery and his physical therapy, and he should be all right. He'll be all right.
That's good. That's what we like to hear. Now, anyways, back to yourself and the Anthony Perosh fight coming up. He's more known for his grappling. Of course, you already took on a pretty well-known grappler early in your UFC debut against Hollis Gracie. Are you predicting a similar outcome for this fight?
I'll tell you what, if he comes with that same approach, I'm predicting a similar outcome. Yeah, man, I'm not too, obviously I respect his jiu-jitsu, I respect his grappling, but this is a fight, and there's a whole, I can elbow you and punch you in the face and try to kick you in the head. You're going to be a little bit less likely to try to go for an armbar or something like that. I'm not being stupid and walking in thinking that I want to get to go to the ground with Anthony Perosh. I believe he's recently promoted to a 3rd degree Machado black belt, so he's definitely the real deal on the ground. I'm not going to hang out there on the bottom or on the ground, even if I'm on top. I'm definitely looking to keep the fight on the feet and put him to bed. Easier said than done, I know, but it's a real, I don't want to say it's an easy fight, but it's a real simple fight if you look at it from both of our perspectives. We both have a clear advantage over the other in certain areas of the mixed martial arts game. It's gonna really boil down to who can navigate in the gray area and get the fight to where they need it to be. So.
Excellent. Well, we're definitely looking forward to checking that one out. Now, going back over your career a little bit, do you have a favorite victory in the UFC or any other promotion?
I would say my favorite fight was probably the Houston Alexander fight. Just because that was like it was in the 5150 Combat League promotion out in Oklahoma. It was cool because I was defending a title that I had earned, and you can say what you want. People say that those belts don't mean anything. Yeah, well, until you have one, it's pretty cool. Even if it is like whatever from whatever mom and pop show, it's pretty cool to have a title, especially to defend it. So, but that was actually the first time that I looked across the octagon or across the cage at somebody and was like, oh shit, I'm about to fight this guy. And I just went out and smashed, and I knew that going into the fight, I knew that if I performed well, that it would do great things. I wasn't expecting I was going to get called within 10 days, but shoot, opportunity knocked, and it's been a fun ride ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome, and hey, that belt really must have been worth something. I mean, hey, that fight without Houston Alexander got you into the UFC, like you said, so that's what we love to hear. Now, Ray, I think you got some questions for Joey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say, well done on two things. One, on the amount of weight you cut to drop from heavyweight to light heavyweight, because you look fantastic at light heavyweight. And two, congratulations on getting back into the UFC after being cut after you lost the 2 fights.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it, and it's all good. It's just really you'd imagine how much weight you lose when you don't eat fast food.
How much weight did you lose? Because I mean, you can see a massive difference. How much actual weight did you lose?
Walking around weight, I only really lost like about 17, 15 pounds, but then, overall, I used to cruise around just like a normal day-to-day life around 240s, low 240s, and then now try to keep it around the low 220s. So it wasn't that big of a dramatic difference. Obviously, then you cut the rest to make the 205. But something that I've mentioned before that it is pretty cool, I think it's pretty cool is, when I step on the scale and it says, 205 or 206 or whatever it is, then I actually have lost 100 pounds through, mixed martial arts, because I weighed over 300 when I first started training.
That's amazing. What's it like for you cutting for a fight? Because obviously at heavyweight you didn't have to worry about that, and maybe you started cutting when you started fighting if you were at 300, but now you're cutting down to 205. How do you find the cutting?
You know what? It was pretty easy. I think it was a little bit too easy. It's all just getting used to the process, and I actually overshot it on on the James Tahuna fight. I would have weighed in at 203, but I made sure to drink some water so I didn't get on the scale at 205. And I think I dieted the weight off, which was really easy as opposed to cutting. And I think that was pretty evident if you look at us on the night of the actual fight. I think James probably had a decent amount of weight on me by the time that was happening. I weighed the night of the fight. I only got back up to 208, 209. So it's just, like I said, we're just learning about my body and everything is just getting used to the process of, cutting the weight and then, trying to get back up, get back up to the 220s and stuff like that. So it's cool. It's not that hard, actually.
Is 220 your ideal fight weight then, after you've cut? Is that what you want to be back up to when you fight?
I think that would be great. But, like I said, we'll see what happens. The whole purpose was to fight, people your own size. But, like I said, I mean, you look at us on the on the night of the fight, like James looked substantially bigger than me, but it's all good. I'm used to that anyways. But like I said, I think, I'm going to try to stay a little heavier throughout the training camp. I showed up on the the 5 days before the fight, already at 213, so I had like nothing to cut. It was like I woke up the morning of the weigh-ins at 206, just natural. So, I mean, my management and coaches actually, they probably want the process to be a little harder. They want it to be a little more painful this time around, so I can have a little more size, a little bit of more meat on my bones by the time the fight comes around.
How has it affected your stamina? Obviously losing, body fat. Has it had a positive impact on your stamina for your fights?
Oh no, man. I mean, I could, if anything, I feel freaking great. I feel like, I always had a good gas tank, even for a heavyweight, you know what I mean? And just taking off that extra 20 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever it was, I just felt like I could just go and go and go and go. I mean, and like I said, going back to the Tahuna fight, I mean, that third round was mine. He was looking a little tired, and I was ready to go another possibly a fourth or fifth round if we had to, but, you know, it was a 3-round fight and I lost. But I definitely felt good, and my stamina is not an issue at all.
I mean, you have been 5 rounds before, obviously, 'cause you went 5 rounds when you were heavyweight with Tony Lopez. And how did you find going 5 rounds? I know it was a while ago now, but how did you find going 5 rounds as a heavyweight?
That was crazy, man. The crappy thing about that fight, well, not the crappy thing about it, but the hard thing is that I had been trying to get my rematch with Tony Lopez for about a year, going back and forth with the promoters and blah blah blah. They're being jerks about it, just messing with me. And so then they had told my manager that I was fighting somebody else, and so I was just like, I was training. Whatever. And then 13 days before the event, they're like, okay, we can give you your shot at Tony, 5 rounds. And I was like, well, all right, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to not take that fight. So I was definitely, wasn't prepared physically, but, mentally I was able to push through, and I learned a lot about myself and what what I physically can endure that fight, and mentally and spiritually in the cage, what I'm willing to go through. I had a lot of personal issues in that fight with Tony Lopez after the trash that he had talked after our first fight. And, so I just basically wanted to kill him and tried to do it for 25 whole minutes. And I thought, everybody in the arena thought, and including him, because he came up to me right after the fight and said, "I'm sorry, you'll get your rematch." And I told him I didn't want it. I don't want to fight for King of the Cage. So it's all good.
You've certainly gone on to bigger and better things, since King of the Cage.
Yeah. I mean, they're cool. They're just like with any of you'll find with the smaller promotions, they definitely have their guys. They're who they back, who they want to win. It's basically who can sell the most tickets. And that wasn't me. I wasn't selling tickets in the Inland Empire of California or the San Bernardino area. I don't know too many people out there.
I noticed as well on your record you've got one appearance in Bellator as well. Was there any reason why you only fought them once for Bellator? I mean, I think it's fair to say Bellator weren't as big then, but they've kind of blew up now. But why did you only fight once for them?
That's just the way it happened. It was just a stop along on my journey to the ultimate goal, which is getting to the UFC. Before I got called back on my short notice fight with James, I was actually, that was an option we were looking at, possibly jumping into the 205 tournament. That just happened. That gentleman, his name's Attila View or Vey or something like that, just knocked out Travis View.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at trying to possibly hop into that, but it worked out. God had a plan, and it was for me to get back to the UFC. So Bellator is obviously, you look at them, they're doing great things, and they're coming up, man. So you got to recognize that they're doing good stuff over there.
Yeah, I think outside of Zuffa, I think they're the best organisation outside of Zuffa. I mean, they've got some consistency as well, which is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I mean, looking over your more recent fights, and certainly your time in the UFC seems to love to match you up with guys who are going to strike with you. Do you prefer to fight? So I know you're a striker yourself. Do you prefer to fight strikers or don't you mind?
I'm not really, concerned when I see somebody as a striker or a because for whatever reason, no matter who it is that I fight, maybe I just have that look that makes people want to punch me, but it doesn't matter, man. Everyone always tries to come and take my head off, and so it usually turns out being a pretty entertaining fight. whether they're a grappler or a striker on paper, we always end up giving the fans what they want.
To put you on the spot a little bit, have you got a prediction for your next fight, your UFC on FX 6 fight?
You know what? I can definitely say that I'm going to find a way to win, whether it be, whatever by any means necessary, whatever I got to do. I'm going to be out there clear-minded and very aggressive and find a way to win. I'm
gonna ask you one last question. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna go back to your UFC debut when you obviously fought Hollis Gracie. I remember when that fight came about and when it was announced and the fight happening, and it kind of felt that you were being fed to Hollis Gracie for Hollis Gracie to get himself a win in the UFC. Did you feel that going into the fight that you were being set up to lose?
I think that a lot of people thought that just because they didn't know who I was, But that was fine. Obviously, you just see that name. There was zero name recognition for myself and Gracie. So, just write that down on paper that Gracie's guy is going to win, obviously. So, maybe to outsiders looking in, it looked like that, but I definitely knew that I had a big chance of winning. And, it worked out for me, so it's all good.
Yeah, it certainly did. Do you think that Hollis Gracie underestimated you? Because he didn't seem prepared at all for what you had to offer.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened with him. If that's just the way the condition he's always in, or if he really was injured, I don't know. But he definitely wasn't ready to fight. If it would have been me or anybody, would have the result probably would have been the same.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have been the same. I think, you're not giving yourself the credit you deserve for that fight. You come in and you look very good in that fight, and that got you off to a great start in the UFC. I just want to obviously say we really appreciate you coming on. We're really excited to speak to you. Before we let you go, do you want to shout anybody out? Shout out your friends, family, sponsors, and also let people know how they can contact you on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook under Joey Beltran. You can always follow me on Twitter at Mexecutioner760. And thank you to all my teammates and friends and family over at Alliance MMA. And good luck to my teammate and brother AJ Matthews. He's fighting in Bellator this Friday. That's about it.
Okay, well, Joe, we really appreciate you coming on, and we wish you luck for your next fight. And my prediction is Beltran round 1 knockout.
Oh, thank you. I'll try to do my best to make that happen.
Well, thank you very much, Joey.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, Joey.
You got it, man. You guys have a good one.
Thank you, Joey. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that was Joey Beltran. What a great